Hi everyone, this is Divine. Thank you for tuning in. And I wanted to continue my series of videos about to talk about the unseen worlds, um, which includes the demonic beings, the demonic realms, the lower level dimensions is another name for it, and it includes the angelic realm, godly realm, fire, vibrations realm, and the way I see it, that is the whole entire unseen world is God's territory. Now remember, we are spirit in a body. Therefore, this is God's territory as well. But it works differently because you have to take into account the the physicalness of this reality. It is not the same as the unseen world where it's all energy, all spirit. Whether it's a low spirit, a lower vibration spirit, another word, low level states, or higher vibrational beings. The spirit world is all energy. And then in the material world, then you have the density, you have the body, you have the things, the material, the physical. And so I want to go back to when I spoke on in one of my previous videos, that a lot of times when we pray to God, universe, our prayers are not being answered. And I said this because a lot of times our prayers are answered through people, and people are not answering the call of the the God's calling. And so I do believe we are the miracles for each other. Obviously, we can be our own miracles, our own salvation. Oftentimes will come from us ourselves in our your ability to optimize pain, your abilities to refocus your mind, get in touch with yourself, your spirit self, and close the gap within you. I mentioned closing the gap between spirit and physical, but close that inside you, which will reflect outside you. But also, there, like I said, a majority of your problems, you can solve it yourself. But there is, so often we will come across problems that are greater than us. And in those times when you're facing something where is outside your realm, where it doesn't matter what action you take, there is nothing you personally can do to help yourself. Then you rely on others. And that's when this kind of situation comes in where you pray, pray, pray. You can be the greatest person, actual, a good human being, and your prayers won't be answered because a lot of people are not tuned into God's frequency. I find that a lot of people are rather tuned into demonic frequencies. That's why I started studying demonology. Come to the conclusion that you're in higher frequency. You're trying to talk to God, but in a world where they surrendered to demons and the devils instead of God. Because the demons, they have their games. Demons can easily approach lower level, lower vibrations, people stuck in the density and the physicality of this world. And the demons will give you immediate satisfaction. And it's that immediate satisfaction can give you that false sense of loyalty. And I mean, at the end of the day, from demonology perspective, they want your soul. We serve the devil for so long, but then will come a point where you can no longer void the contract that you ended up while under the influence of demonic forces. So there is a turning point. I mean, there is always a turning point, but it's not always. I guess what I'm trying to say that there is I guess a fork in the road where you have to make a choice, and that will be your final choice. You cannot. That when he says you cannot serve two masters, because you serve the wrong master for so long, the devil will always be available. God requires loyalty and compromise. That's not the word. It's dedication. God requires commitment. That's what I want to say. You can mess up at word. Commitment. Where the devil just wants your distraction, but constantly. So in a way, it's commitment, but without you realizing it's commitment. Where God is more intentional, it requires your intent. You're intentional, you're committed with intent on a daily basis. It's how I process it, I guess. It could be looked at it differently. But the point being is, I wanted to touch bases on when a lot of prayers aren't being answered because a lot of people aren't in the frequency of God. Rather, they're in the frequency of demons, the devil, etc., demonics, possessions, etc. And so talking to people or even finding your, when they say finding your tribe can be difficult because we're we're so divided in this series of events that took place, really separated, which is separation is meant to happen. There are several prophecies talking about the separation. And I personally see it in my life. The separation is real, and the two kinds of people are real. I don't know. And so reconnecting and reestablishing community based on the new formed separation, it's been a challenge. At least for me personally. So I wanted to touch base to the series of videos because it's important going back to awareness, not lying to yourself, not being in denial, doing your inner work. It's essential because it puts you in the frequency where others can find you. And it's not only about finding each other, but finding each other, but it's also about we find each other because we serve each other. I do believe we are the angels on earth, God's children, and some are fallen angels because they fell from God's grace in their own lives. So I do feel humans as angels or fallen angels in that sense. And they do act that way. How many people are like angels in your life? Yeah, they offer their existence in your life. There are many, right? Correct. But how many people do you interact with and you say, oh my God, that's a demon? Like, do not let her come back into my life. Sadly, there are too many. And it goes into, to me, certain people are like angels and certain people are like fallen angels, like demons, or the devil, Lucifer himself, the brightest and fallen, the watchers, aka spies. Well, on the Hindus, they have had the energy attachment that doesn't need them, and they can't leave the loop. So they get stuck in the repeating loop because they can't overcome it. And so overcoming again, if you're part of a, for example, fallen angel loop where you've reincarnated over and over again as a fallen angel or with a tendency to have demons attached to you intentional or vibration, it's another word for it. You have to get out of the loop. But in this time space reality, if you spent so long accepting that that is you, it becomes because that you served the devil for so long that you lose the opportunity that you had to overcome the loop. Then you're stuck in the loop. In terms of this life space lifetime, stand space reality, which is this lifetime. So then you have to wait until the next reincarnation. Is what I'm trying to explain. Just because I want to bring back the importance of choices, even the little choices you make, how important it is for you to keep choosing alignment with God, God's frequencies, Christ embodiment, and another word for higher frequencies, angelic frequencies, universe itself. But a reminder that and from the beginning of the video, the unseen world is God's territory. So even the devil is in God's territory. So it goes back. Some people say darkness and light doesn't matter. I mean, they do matter. But I think what they need to say is that they serve a purpose because they are in God's territory and and I do agree to that in that sense. But it does matter. So it's important that you know where you are in the spectrum. Am I in the middle? Do I do too much to darkness? Where you all only you need to know. It's a business between you and yourself. That's why I say you're your best guide. So I'm just hoping to help you guide yourself or have some clarity in your own situation to help you guide yourself out of it. Because you do have to be brutally honest with yourself, where you are in life and where you are in the spectrum, so you can guide yourself into a lighter frequency instead of such density and fearful kind of sort of demonic frequency. So if you want to go more into God frequency, Christ frequency, Christ embodiment, love, life, liberty, then you have to know where you are. You have to have a feel for your own consciousness. Where's my consciousness in this time space rail in this lifetime? Where am I? And also going back to the importance of choices, even the little choices you make to what you're wearing matters. And you skip the loop where you need the physical things because you're so into it. It's almost automatic, but it starts slow. It starts with you having little rituals. I don't mind religion in that sense, where in the beginning, if you're searching, well, you're going to find religion. But my problem with religion is that religion, I feel like they kind of make you feel bad. Or like guilt. They try to give you guilt trip for leaving religion behind. But it comes to a point where the religious world, which is limited, well, limits you, and you need something beyond it. Yeah, I'm not saying don't go to church. I'm not saying don't read the Bibles and the Torahs and the books that you read, or if you're Hindu, or whatever it is. I'm saying try to realize that the world of God is unseen. So there's no book, there's no search, there's no person, but neurophysical. that is willing to help you as much as yourself, because you are inside yourself. And you have to create that internal awareness, which is know thyself in the Bible, in order to build that relationship with the piece of you that is your eternal self, which is your God inside of your God self. Or the God put a seed in all of us. So God made us in his image. So we are an image of God because we have God's essence inside of us. We all do. And that's why you're able to have demons attached to you, or angels, or God himself, or etc. Because at the end of the day, your eternal self is a piece of God himself. It's a piece of eternity. And that's why the Bible talks about, fallen angels and, angels who knew the kingdom and fell from grace because he was seeking power, was seeking to spy on the human beings and create, and fell in love with the daughters of men and created children. And those offsprings became not very in enlightened years. So even they even say it was evil and chaotic and as a byproduct of the sin, right, of the angels meddling in the human world. Ahem. So my feel in all of this is that it's more about us than we think. Because at the end of the day, we are eternal beings. We are infinite, family, a finite experience. To remind ourselves to be thankful like how rare each moment can be. Imagine your eternal being that never dies and lives forever, and you start using grace, using the wonder or the small things in life or the small moments. And I go back to the small choices because in small choices important because your lifetime is all those little choices added together into a lifetime. And that is your life, your legacy, what you leave behind. And so I just wanted to touch back to how important it is for us to do our own inner work. And it never ends. Remember, we're eternal beings, so the work is never done. It is important to start at any time, even if you've crossed, for example, in this timeline, the ability to turn around this physical body because you started after the fork. You're entering the next life in a better way. And that only makes sense if you're understanding that we're eternal beings. And I know it's there. To me, there is enough evidence for this to be unknowing, as opposed to people who don't believe in anything. To me, this immense amount of disbelief or not looking at truth to mean nothing. To me, because I've seen so much in my life as truth that I don't doubt it, I know it. So to me, it's not many things. I know it. It's a knowing. To some people, I don't know how they have trouble believing or even come to, at first I believed, but then I knew. Or maybe I knew first and then I believed, however the order goes. But some people have issues even knowing that things are in their face as proof. Because like I said, from my personal experience, there's no proof confirming everything that I know. Then there is proof of otherwise. So to me, I don't have any problems. I don't have any doubts. I don't ever doubt it. So to me, it's a firm no way. there in the belief because of all the evidence that is present in my life, current, past, and present, and future. Um, and so going back to awareness, I've come to a conclusion that those people that don't believe or skeptical, it must be that they don't have awareness. Because if you pay attention and you truly look into your life with the lens of truth, you cannot come to the conclusion that there is nothing. Um, there is something. It's not a man in the sky. It's, I like that science is catching up to God, and what God means the God of all, because it's in all, like the God particle in physics, what they call it. So science to me always has been a subject that would go hand in hand with spirituality. Science is the form that we materialize the spiritual world in another ways. So I don't have any doubts for those who are skeptical or considered unbelievers. And I do lack of awareness because I think it's lack of awareness in your own life. I have paid attention. You lack of being honest with yourself. And like I said, I'm not accusing anybody. It's just because it's important. We have a society that's very fake. It's very material. It's very superficial. Our connections are not in-depth connections anymore. They're superficial connections. And because of that, we don't have real relationships with one another. And that trickles down to ourselves. If you don't have a real relationship with yourself, then obviously your outer relationships is going to be just as surface level as you are. As opposed to you having such a deep connection with yourself, your relationships will be a little bit deeper and fuller. Um, so putting it out there again on the importance of awareness. When you do this kind of work, the importance of being truthful with yourself so you can have the ability of being truthful with others and finding truth in life when the truth is usually staring right in front of you, but you just don't want to see it. It was my point. And going back to the unseen world, I can do believe it to be, like, I think the most important subject as it is the material world, because, I mean, from the times of 1600s and before, we had the Knights Templars, which I think is from before those times. We had the Freemasons. We had so many societies dedicated to the unseen world. We also had the Illuminati, and I mentioned the Masons. Even where I was reading a book from the what time is that? From 1500s, 1600s by a French former Freemason Illuminati person. And from he wrote his book in that time frame. So it's explaining from that time frame how the hierarchies in the societies work, and it's all based on your relationship with the unseen. And I do indeed believe that things went south when we started seeing the world as the more material than spiritual. And obviously, all the societies that I do believe in the past, like in the very long ago past, like in the 1700s and the 1600s, possibly the 1800s, were societies aiming for the betterment of society. I think the original, and that's why if you look at what was built in those days, they were way better. Things were built with grace, with true beauty, and there was real passion on what was being built and the craftsmanship, etc. There was like true love. And the unseen world has a deep connection to love because you're either going to be deeply tied into love or you will be deeply tied into fear. And our founding fathers were very passionate, fearless men. They fought for this country for the Constitution, our constitutional rights. And that's why they say it's our founding fathers said it's a God given right because it is. This nation, which is the greatest nation in this world, or one of the greatest nations in this world, depending who's looking at it, but it's a leader of this world, or the greatest leader that we've had in a while. It was founded on the unseen realm. God's territory was founded based on not Christianity, because many were Freemasons, and if you look into what Freemasonry is just mysticism. It was based on Jewish mysticism, Christian mysticism, just the mysticisms all around the world, which is the unseen, the esoteric part of things, the true spirituality. It's what I call it. And many would disagree because they're so cleaned on to religion, where the mysticism, the mystical takes you more into the unseen territory where many people have fear because they don't know if they're going into the devil's territory where the devil lives, or if they made it into the angelic realm where God lives, and because it's unseen, people are afraid to navigate because it does include darkness, and most believers do understand that darkness, the devil, demonic possession is a real thing. And it's true. But I want to just face that into the way inner work because I think that's the beginning. Once you feel confident, but you've opened that door where God can come through you directly, you carry that light and you can have that torch, that bright light of divine in you. You will not be afraid to walk into the devil's backyard, is what I'm trying to say, because you know who you are. Do not believe or you hold, but you know that light you carry is from the divine. You have no fear if you walk into the unknown and you ended up in God's territory, surrounded by demons. And you'd be like, oh, I see you, demons. And you will not be afraid because you know that light is you. And as long as you're there, no darkness can come in you. So, and then you can walk yourself out of there and go into God's territory, and the whole unseen world is zero territory. The same way it is God's territory. God doesn't fear when he goes into the devils and the demons territory. He laughs at it. Like your fallen angels, I made you. Not that you're God. We're not God, but I'm just saying he gave us a piece of him inside of us. He made us in his image. That's what it means. His essence is in all of us. So going back to inner work, knowing thyself, the kind of talk about it in the Bible in those books. It's having that relationship, not looking at God as some guy in the sky, but remembering that who you truly are is a piece of the eternal, which God is eternal in this world. So, at the end of the day, we are the angels that we prayed for. And we are the fallen angels and the demons that commit the crimes that we don't want to see in this world. And we have an individual that's how we're broken. The eternal is broken to have individuality, to have choices, what's called free will, to choose. In this timeline, in this time-space reality, what are you going to be? Are you going to be a blessing to this world, to someone, to the people around you? Or are you going to be the devil incarnated in your body? And it's your choice. And I just want to judgment. But the how important your choices are. And I know you think about what I wear has nothing to do with the devil or God or but it does more than we know it. And I went back to a video explaining your intentions. So and the reason why so many people are so unaware is not only that, society, we live in a fake society and it is common for people to lie. And I'm not suggesting that we may lie in our crime, but I am saying, I'm not suggesting that, but I am saying we do have a society where we don't, the word punishment's not the right word. We allow it. We enable it. That's the word. We enable lying. And I don't suggest we run it severely. I do suggest we create a society where it frowns upon lying. We shouldn't necessarily turn into a crime. I don't think it's. I think that's. I think in the old world they used to do that, but I don't think that's the way. I do believe the way is to create some awareness where we frown upon it rather than enabling it. For example, there are certain professions where lying is almost a gift, which professions, lawyers, the entire legal system, judges. So this happens that hit the where the art of lying without lying, which they call omitting plaintiff words called wording the black what's it called black Moss dictionary, something like that. Talks about it, how they play with words. And going into the unseen world, what words are, in the magician, they do understand the world. The word has vibration and therefore has creation. So on a very rudimentary level, the because word magic is rudimentary. It's beginner's magic, right? So they turned our legal system into, and if you study various forms of the mystic, you will understand how everything in our society is based on the unseen. From um word magic to everything else. But that would require you to be honest with yourself, open your eyes and be truthful and etc. But the point is, we should have a society that frowns upon lying. Not, for example, we labels it. And what the example I gave is through romanticizing darkness. I touched on this subject on previous videos. Another form of romanticizing darkness is, for example, when the romanticizing in turn is that lie, or can lie well, or color lies, or misuse the legal system for criminals to get away with crimes. That was not a purpose of the legal system, but our legal system was so great and it functioned so well because our hands were in the right direction, our hearts were in the right direction. So there was coherence. And that's why we no longer have coherence in our society. People like to argue the division of races and whatnot. I think it's deeper than that. And I'm gonna say it's deeper than that, and I'm gonna give an example of, for example, just whites. You have the white Christians, which are by usually more conservative, and then you have the white liberals, which are usually they usually worship the devil even if they're not atheists. If they're not atheists, they do worship the devil. They don't see a problem worshiping the devil to that point. I forgot the name of the church. It's a church that worships the devil that many white liberals like to promote, and even in Hollywood, etc. So I'm picking one race just to show it's not race. So you believe white conservatives and white liberals, and they are complete opposites. It's like one is alien compared to the other, but they are the same race. So I wanna, because some people discuss it's about my immigrant. I am totally in agreement that immigration has something to do with it. The immigration of people from other lands that share nothing of their culture and etc. Yes, but it's deeper. On a physical level, yes, but on a spiritual level, it's way deeper than that. That's why I hate the example of the whites, because what are you gonna do? You're gonna deport the white liberals who were born in America. You can't do that. So it doesn't solve the problem. While immigration controls can control future problems, the problem is deeper. Is my and I am pro control immigration having the correct. We always had immigration laws. I'm an immigrant myself. I came here completely legally. I was invited to the country, as a matter of fact. My story is very different than most immigrants. But my point is there is a right way to get in, assimilate the culture, etc. And we should go back to that. But on a deeper level, how to fix the problem, because the enemy went after the Americans, the white liberals that you can deport. And so the point is it's deeper than just the physical level. And that's why I go back into the unseen world. You can find their solutions now, like, because it always goes deeper than what the physical plane allows you to see. So, inner work. We had more coherence in the past because we had our hearts and space were in the same level. Vibration, understanding, coherence, and you call it what you want, but we all had a purpose of, of being better some way, somehow. So, progress, prosperity was in everybody's mind for the sake of becoming better people, better society. And I feel like that is no longer the case because boredom got us a lot of people who got used to money or got used to certain lifestyle, got used to the physicalness of this world, which includes material possessions, materialism. And they forgot that the country and the world, because back in the day, everything was the unseen world, and that's why there were religion wars, and so many things happened because they understood back then that the unseen world, God's territory, is the most important world. And so now we have different school of thoughts where they're more centered around the physical life, like your material life, your money, your cars, and your house, which is all nice. It's all good to have. I'm not against money or anything like that. It's comfortable life. Everybody wants a comfortable life, and you need money for that. What I'm saying, you're forgetting not you person, but there's two school of thoughts now. That's why the world's divided. Where certain people put money on the pedestal instead of putting God, the universe, the unseen world, spirituality. And so we create two different societies, is what I'm just trying to explain. And that's why we don't have coherence anymore within our legal systems, because then you have, and even though, for example, I wanna go back to why I dislike religion. A lot of people will put money on the pedestal. A lot of them cling to religion, and that's bad on them. It's not religion's fault. I mean, a church is not responsible that people who go there sometimes are criminals. They rape people on the side. I mean, the church not in the background check before you come to church. The church assumes you're there because you want salvation. Well, most of the times we understand they're not there for salvation. They're there to say, hey, I knew in church I'm a good guy, because they have something to hide, right? So it's about many people go for salvation. I'm just saying, while it's not a church's fault or temple's fault, I don't know what you have. Synagogues, right? You have all these buildings. It's not a building's fault, obviously. It's logical. I'm saying that our perception of it in society has to change. As in the past, everybody understood or had these coherence amongst themselves. They go to church for salvation or, for forgiveness or whatever, to get closer to God or, hear the word and just keep that relationship going with God, unseen world, the universe, etc. Now it's become a form of that guy is using church and it's just say, hey, I go to church, I'm a good guy. And you can say I'm Christian, I'm gonna do whatever. So attach that to your name, kind of sort of like bachelor's degree, just say, hey, I'm a good person. And that's not at all how it works. But certain people have that understanding where others don't. And that's crazy because we had this split in society. Because instead of focusing on and creating a society that frowns upon lying, cheating, and etc., create a society that enables it and even has like jobs such as an attorney, a lawyer. That lying is part of a job. And it shouldn't be, but it is. And so, going back to creating standards, and one of my videos, I touched on the necessity for having standards again. We went to a society where they wanted to, I think that, well, they wanted to have people at the bottom so much that they were willing to lower the standards of society. So these people will come in. But my point being is that they're not ready. They're, and I don't want to say bottom because they are at the bottom, but for a reason, because they have work to do. And if you can't look at it with the discernment, one, you can't help them, and two, you end up destroying the society that you already had. And that's what's happening in the Western world, where society was already good, where the lifestyle was already good, but you're lowering the standards of these people that are in a lower vibration, a lower level of existence wants to come in, and you want to believe because you're, for example, in a higher vibration, you are already in higher levels of society, therefore the society itself is a higher vibration, because you think the higher vibration is going to have an effect on the lower vibration picking up. And that's not how it works. And I want to touch about the importance of the internal work, internal work. Because what is society again? It's a group of people. Same as a body of government. A body of government is a group of people. It's up to people to better themselves. You cannot force, you can nudge. Yes, you can nudge, but you cannot force someone under demonic influence to go and have God's influence and build that vibration and make that jump. Because closing the gap is an internal job. Is what I'm going back towards, in the importance of telling the truth to yourself, being truthful to yourself, where you are in the process of closing the gap to where you want to be. Because if you don't do that work, no one can do it for you. And it's crazy that we have all these well-meaning people that think that they can bring people into a higher vibration society and force them into higher vibration. That is crazy. That is the opposite of living in a higher vibration is. When it shows that those people are not in alignment and they're lowering already just by them thinking that way. It already shows that they are already lowering their vibration because nowhere and somewhere where you're in alignment with higher vibration, do you think you can force someone? Or should you force someone to be where you are? You should never. You can nudge, you can try to create processes where entices people to think higher, to wanna do better, to wanna be better, and that those are all great things. They lure. But to an attempt to force lower vibration people to higher vibration is incredibly out of alignment. And going back to that, and why lowering their standards to bringing these people who never met the basic standards to begin with doesn't help because they end up lowering the whole group, society, etc., country, how we want to apply this to. So instead of the beginning society that was already functioning, affecting these groups of people that were not functioning as coherent as we were, they end up affecting us negatively. Because you cannot force high vibration into someone who's been dealing with the devil or with demonic possessions or they're in that realm. It's a different kind of realm. It requires different things. So starting awareness and the importance of doing internal work, I think it's the best approach. We all want to see the world a better place. We all have that in our hearts. We want peace in the world. Not everyone. I mean, sad. I want to say everyone, but every one of us that are in this flow of wanting to go higher and vibrate higher, etc. You have to remember that people dealing with demonic possessions on their death to the level that they are serving the devil himself, they are not in that state of mind. They will move their lips and say the words, but you can tell by their actions. They're far from it. So again, going back to being truthful with yourself, you have to create an awareness, not only with yourself, but so you can see the world for what it is and know that those people exist and they're not at the same level is not the right word, but they're not in the same vibration that we are. Therefore, they're not gonna look into matters, into things the same way we would. And that's where they're and going back to the coherence of society. We lost coherence because of that. So, while, controlling migration helps, it doesn't solve the problem because the problem is beyond migration because we have, and I went back to the previous example I gave this week, for example, when conservatives and white liberals all same race becomes about race. The problem is societal, but not only in this country, but in the world. There is like a split in the world. Because certain people, they're not find their comfort or are more comfortable dealing with demons and answering to the devil or devil's army, whatever you want to call it, then they are dealing with God. Because because so many people weren't listening to their callings, they couldn't see their prayers being answered. And they deal with the devil and the devil responds right away. And so in a lot of times you have to delay the work. Remember, God made you complete. So majority of the problems can be resolved by doing inner work. There's that as well. Where certain people want to avoid the inner work and they want a shortcut in life, and there's no such thing. And so those kinds of people with that kind of mentality will not have coherence with us in terms of society. While we can have energy because we can handle ourselves. That's why in my previous videos I said to get into poison We cannot have an anarchy, for example, a successful anarchist society with those kinds of people. That's why I also said, I remember a time where we lived with law enforcement in peace, without law enforcement becoming authoritative, and without us losing our freedoms, but while still maintaining the laws and law enforcement, which is important to maintain society because we still have those people in our society. And if there's no law enforcement to come after those people will come after us. Sadly, but it's the truth. And if you can't be honest with yourself, then those people do exist and they're out there and they could be your neighbor, they could be people in your lives that they haven't manifested those characteristics yet because they're in the hiding, they're in the shadow, trying to analyze if they can come out or not, or they'll be caught because the first thing they think about is, well, I get caught. Because that's how they think. We don't think that way. Because we're not living from the perspective, so the perspectives will be different. The intention is different too. Our intention is to be better, to do better, to create, to move forward, to progress. The intention is, what can I get away with? What can I get without being caught? Complete different mindsets. And working on yourself and working with the unseen energies. At first, they feel unseen, but as you work with it, it's gonna open your eyes, open your what they call the third eye, open your senses, so you can not only see, you can sense, and you will have a way of knowing for sure. To the point, it's not gonna be required to believe it because you will just know. So it's important to create that relationship. And the more you work on the relationship, the more you'll be unknowing rather than a hold, I believe, and pray. Wait, and I'm reminded when you pray, usually you're praying from the place of necessity. And then and there's other reasons why prayers don't get answered, but let's start with the obvious and then we can go into the fact that praying from pain because you want relief when you're asking for relief that only you can give yourself. So it's like a false prayer in a way. So you praying for external forces to help you with something that's an internal job. And three, remember, a lot of times people pray from pain instead of being thankful and optimizing the pain. God gave you, God made you complete. God, universe, you were created complete. So most of the things you need in this world to succeed, most of it, is within yourself. So a lot of the work is in the internal work. That's why I want to bring the attention back to you being your own guide, because most of the work is going to be you harnessing that relationship with yourself, with your different bodies, understanding yourself, understanding your emotional body, your physical body, your spiritual body, and how create harmony within your bodies. That's your inner peace. It's harmony between all your being your bodies. Between all your internal process, between your internal life and your external life. That's the harmony between all that is you, is what internal peace is at the end of the day. Makes you see as light as a feather at night. And so it's really important and detrimental that we go back to focusing on our own growths as we approach this new way of existing, because we don't want that garbage in our society anymore. We cannot enable it either. If we're enabling garbage and garbage behaviors in our society, then we're part of the problem. So we need to stand firm, and that's why I hate your shadow work. because we're still dealing with people attached to demons, and some people are attached to multiple demons now, and some people are even serving the devil himself or itself. And so we have to be real with ourselves that we do have those people in our society, and we do need to not enable it and create a way where we're not opening our doors to them, where we're creating boundaries is what's called boundaries, so those kinds of people do not enter our world. And the more you have awareness within you, and the more you harness and grow the relationship with the God heart of you, which is God itself, the more we can see, the more it becomes more visible to us who they are and who we are to each other. And while we create a society where we're closer to each other, where we're coherent people, we can be coherent with each other. We can also be each other's answers to each other's prayers. When you start praying from a place where most of the times you're gonna be saying thank you, then help me, God, right? Because, like I said, majority of the problems can be resolved with internal work. And so the little problems we have, we can help each other out. It's going back to how society, and it all ties back into each and every person doing their inner work, the internal work, doing the awareness process, aligning mind, body, soul, and spirit, aligning the internal life with the external life, etc. So I hope this helps you, give you more clarity, or in something in any way, shape, or form. I'm just putting the videos out there to attempt to help people, individually, internally, and in society as well. If you want to help my work, I have my Venmo Cash in the description at Divine123. And please like, subscribe, etc. to your YouTube thing. Thank you so much for being here, and I see you on the next one. Thank you.